time, I thought, yeah, you know what, you're right, you've actually got a lot more left than I realised when he took care of Martin Murray, because Martin Murray's a big unit. Martin Murray's a tough cookie, and George actually dealt with him a lot easier.
He boxed really well that night.
But I dealt with him a lot easier. I thought, yes, you've turned back time. And if he can put on a performance like that, I expect him to walk away champion Saturday night.
But Chudinov, we've seen against Frank Buglioni, who also had that good win over Jose Burton, and he looked really good that night.
I get that, but Frank Buglioni is not George Groves. You know, it's about levels, and so we'll see if he is at George Groves level, or we'll see if George Groves is still world-class level. This will tell us. And so if it's a tough fight, then it'll tell us what level George is at. If it's an easy fight for George, he'll show, you know, he's head and shoulders above most of them. Anything lower than world-class level.
Number 1 and number 2 ranked with the WBA. This is top draw stuff here. George Groves against Fedor Chudinov.
Chudinov, Russian, but he's based in Germany, so he's got that sort of German mentality when it comes to trying to put the pressure on. But he's got that Russian, that fight in him. He wants to have a tear up. He wants to be in your face. He wants you to bring it on, and he'll answer every question you put to him. So this isn't an easy fight for George Groves. He's going to make sure he gets it right.
How's he looking to you? Very relaxed with his small group of Russians here.
Very relaxed. He's very relaxed. He's very confident and very comfortable. And you can tell when he walked in, he was smiling. And he thought, you know, he looked at the crowd, you know, just brushed it off and just got on with the pads.
Looking sharp, Fedor Chudinov in the sunshine of Sheffield. Atmosphere building beautifully.
Yeah, just a cloud going past, Jim. It'll soon pass and the sunshine will be back with us very shortly. But it's a beautiful day here in Sheffield in the Peace Gardens. And as you say, Fedor Chudinov is the man in the ring. And I'm joined by Dave Caldwell, one of our foremost trainers, to have a little look at the man who's going to be taking on George Groves on Saturday night, the Russian. Let's take you into the ring itself and have a look at the man himself. Because not a huge amount known about him in many respects, certainly not at the highest level in terms of the opponents, barring a couple of fights he's had with Felix Sturm. Probably 1 or 2 unknown quantities about Fedor Chudinov in this fight.
There is, but what we do know is that he's very, very solid. You know, he's a solid, steady fighter. And just look at him here. To be honest, there's not a lot of head movement going on off his punches. And for me, somebody that's got no head movement is made for a George Groves jab. You know, and look at him stylistically. Watching him a little bit in his fights beforehand, you know, he's a fighter that I think he'll walk onto George. You know, I think he'll walk onto him. George will use his angles, and once he finds his rhythm and he gets that jab going, he's very, very fresh face. There doesn't look to be much scar tissue around there, but I can see George just, you know, really breaking him up and doing a number on him.
If you have a look at his record, 15 fights, 14 wins, 10 KOs. So he does know how to find that little bit of power here and there. Yeah,
you know, without a doubt he can punch. We know that. But, you know, in order to let your punches have effect, you've got to land them. And, you know, look at him. I think he's got short arms. We know that George Groves has got long arms for a super middleweight. You know, Martin Murray found that as a big problem. And just getting close to him. as he's stepping forward, he's quite upright, his chin's up in the air, and this is what I'm saying, the key factor for this fight is George's jab. You know, once he gets the time and the range on that jab, then you'll start seeing the right hands coming in. He can't afford to let Chudinov get on top of him and make it into a fight, because that's going to be his fight. You know, he'll want to put his shots together. He puts his shots together nice and crisp, nice and sharp, but they are quite, you know, up close sort of shots. I don't think he'll have much success at range, but up close, this is what his kind of fight is going to be.
We shall see. George Groves with the opportunity after the 4th attempt to perhaps get his hands on a world title fight. One of 2, of course, up for grabs on Saturday night, along with Kell Brook and Errol Spence Jr. on what should be a terrific night here in Sheffield. More to come very soon. Cheers.
Well, however much you can fit in your car,
Yeah, I think I've got it.
Absolute pleasure. Have a nice day, guys. No problem at all.
Well, as we watch Fedor Chudinov, I'm just being joined here, first of all, by Ian Lewison, who fought Dylan White and gave him a real tough night a few weeks ago. You were meant to be fighting David Allen. Allen got the Commonwealth title shot. Where does this leave you? You're sort of hanging around the heavyweight scene, desperate to get back involved. Obviously, it's thriving more than ever.
Yeah, basically, I'm looking to get back in on it and see what opportunities present themselves. Because as it happens, like you said, I was supposed to fight today, but you know what? It just never happened. So we just got to try and see how it goes.
How did you feel about the Dylan White fight? Obviously, the result wasn't great for you. However, you stuck with him, and I know you took it at short notice.
Well, I think obviously I've done myself proud in the sense that I went in there and I worked with what I had, and what I had was not a lot of time to present and to put together a good defense of myself. But you know what? With everything I had, I think I've done well.
That'll be one of the heavyweight promoters ringing you right now. You've got to just keep active, haven't you? You've got to keep sharp. And I think that has been the issue with your career.
No, definitely. It's been a lot of stop starting, but I'm looking to get out again July the 9th, York Hall, Bethnal Green. So hopefully from that we can keep some activity going. And I'm definitely looking to get out there again and obviously get another British title shot, and then hopefully get it on with Allen. If he gets past this guy today, then me and him can have a Commonwealth title fight.
Do you think he will? Do you think Allen beats them, Roy Thomas? We don't know too much about Thomas. He's sparred with Anthony Joshua, obviously a southpaw, which makes him tricky enough anyway, but I suppose it's more about what Allen's got to offer.
No, but everyone knows what Allen has to offer, and he comes forward and he's aggressive in his come forward style, and he's a come forward fighter. But to be fair, I thought it would have been a decent fight, him and Lenroy, but looking at the body language of Lenroy today, I think I'd have to side with Allen for this one. I'm not seeing the body language from him that he's up for it and he wants it and he's going in there hungry. I'm not seeing that, but it could just be how his persona is, who knows, but I think Allen.
And Ian, we haven't seen a heavyweight division like this domestically in so long. Obviously the likes of Chisora and White underneath, Joshua and Tyson Fury, should he come back soon. You know, you've got a brilliant bubbling mix at the minute, and you know it's great for Britain, isn't it?
No, it is. It's definitely 100%, because at the end of the day, the people that are going to benefit from it are the fans. It's bringing back the days of when Danny Williams fought Michael Sprott, and then Mark Potters, and everyone was around.
Otto Williams, what a fight!
That's what I'm saying. It's bringing back them days, the Julius Francis, where everybody was in there, and everyone in itself, the British boxing was made up just of them few guys at the time, because they were the ones bringing the excitement to boxing, and hopefully we're back at that stage now. A lot of young guys all looking to get out there, looking to make their name, and I think it's making good fights for the general boxing public.
Yeah, Tony Bellew, who's hanging around here, he certainly wants to be a massive part after that win over David Hay. Let's just look at the bill on Saturday, though. Obviously, you're keeping an eye on David Allen. In the ring is Fedor Chudinov, fights George Groves. That's a real 50-50. You've got Brook and Spence Jr. again a pick-em. How are you seeing both of them?
I think both of them are tough 50-50 fights, but the Brook and Kell Brook one, that's to me is definitely a hard fight. But if I had to choose one of them, and I had to go out on my shield and say one of them, I think I'd lean slightly towards Spence. I think, yeah. But like I said, it is a 50-50 fight.
What about Groves and Chudinov? Do you think, George, who's had those tough fights with Kell Brook and Badu Jack, and this is the 4th attempt and probably the best one on paper, but he's tough, Chudinov.
No, he is, and I think definitely George Groves will go out there and do his best like he always does, and he's always in exciting, thrilling fights, and I genuinely believe this is going to be his time now. He will go out there and win a title.
Thanks very much, Ian. Enjoy the rest of your week as Fedor Chudinov just moves out of the ring, having gone through his paces.
What's that? Let me show him.
You're going to turn and face, yeah?
Fedor Chudinov just with Sam Watson from the Spence camp. And his tight band of trainers, managers are with him. Fedor, great to have you back in Britain. First of all, how do you feel with this stage, the atmosphere in Sheffield? Excited about this weekend?
Weather is good today. It's most. I like England. Sheffield is good town. We're working today and watching buildings, people. Everything I like. Nobody aggressive. I think everything fine. Good.
Nice weather, nice people. Are you feeling good ahead of Saturday?
I'm feeling good. I'm not excited. I'm just waiting fight. Waiting good, tough fight, and I'm ready for that.
We saw you obviously against Frank Buglioni. You've had the fights with Felix Sturm, and you won one and should have won the other one. So we see you as an unbeaten fighter and a dangerous one for George Groves. How do you see Groves as a danger to you?
Groves, how you say that? He strong boxer, but he have no good defense. He don't have defense. It will be his problem because he think only about punch, not about defense. I think I was used this, yeah. I will use this. He don't have good defense. That's all.
So it's the weakness in the defense of Groves, the vulnerability that you think, as a more rounded fighter, will suit you on Saturday.
Yeah. Поможете немножечко.
Excuse me. Yeah. We can prepare some surprise for George Groves. Yeah. I'm sorry. Of course, he is home fighter, but we coming to England with love.
We have love as well. It's great to have you here, top quality fighter. Are you sure you're going to become a world champion on Saturday here in Sheffield?
I every time ready to good fight. I'm not sure. But he's a strong fighter. I don't relax, but I ready for win for good fight.
For a good fight.
For good.
God take care of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fedor, good luck. It's great having you guys with us. We'll see you Saturday night. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for joining us. Fedor Chudinov, who will be around at the press conference tomorrow, weigh-in Friday here in the city, just outside the City Hall. Many people are crowding into the Peace Gardens at the moment as we wait for George Groves, he'll be a few minutes. I just want to bring Dave Caldwell in very briefly here. Dave, nice to have you. I know you've got many hats on this weekend. You're training Anthony Fowler. I think you're managing Lewis Taylor, aren't you? You've got obviously a little bit of work with us, as we like to have you on board, and you've been very close with George Groves over the years as well. We just had Fedor Chudinov in. Tough guy, all-rounded guy, good amateur, pretty much unbeaten as a pro, you have to say, because of the Felix Sturm fight. He was just telling us that he believes he's got more about him, that George, his vulnerabilities will be a problem, his lack of defence, etc. How do you see it, the worries for Groves in this fight?
Well, I think he would bank on that, you know, because I think we've been saying that for quite a long time now. George is really vulnerable, he's there to be hurt, he's there to be stopped, but it's not happening, you know. Carl Froch did it, controversially, but it's not really happening, is it? He is a fighter that can get ragged, can get hurt, but he always seems to piece it back together.
Badu Jack had him down, but look what happened.
But exactly, we looked at that and we thought, oh no, it's all over. And look at how he performed after that. One thing that you can't underestimate on George Groves is how fantastic his jab is. And the other thing, just looking at Chudinov, I think his arms are quite short, and he boxes quite square on. George Groves is very long. He's got long arms for a super middleweight. When Martin Murray fought him, he found that range a big problem. Now, Chudinov, I think, is going to walk onto that jab all night long. And that's going to find a home for George's right hands. And look at him, he's quite upright. There's not a lot of head movement behind Chudinov, you know. So if there's not much head movement there, I think George could have a fun night. I really do.
And you're seeing him, all due respect to Frank Buglioni, who obviously seems to have improved since then, but that was a poor night that Buglioni had. Yeah. And Felix Sturm at the back end of his career, and you know, he probably expected for Chudinov to give him the trouble that he did.
Yeah. And you know, the other thing that you've got to play into fact is Shane McGuigan with George Groves. Them two have bonded now, and I think they're a good fit. And I think Shane's got George's sharpness, his motivation, and his desire. And do you know what? Seeing him fight week this week, I seen him, you know, on Sky Sports News, and he just seems happy. And we haven't seen this about George Groves for a long time. You know, he's been sullen, been moody, been mardy coming up to his fights. This week he seems happy. And I think him and Shane have gelled. I think he's got belief in his abilities again. I think he feels great again. And I think he's going to be firing on all cylinders.
Do you think Shane's under a bit of pressure after what happened with Carl Frampton, Leo Santa Cruz, and obviously David Hay? Or, you know, that's just, you're a trainer now, that's just how it goes. I know you had your bad moments with David Price, and you read all the stuff online, and then you bounced back with Tony Bellew.
Yeah, listen, you know, you're up there to be shot. If you're in big fights that are tough fights, matchups of 50-50s, 60-40s, there's a chance that your man might get beat. That whether you win or you lose, you just keep going. Keep belief in your own abilities as a coach. Your fighters have got to, just like the fighters have got to keep their own belief in their ability as a fighter. You know, we have ups and downs in boxing. This is it. You know, football teams can lose a match, come back. No one makes a big deal. You know, in boxing, people seem to think that the minute you lose, you're rubbish, you're useless, you know. Shane McGuigan's a very good coach. The one thing that I will say that Shane McGuigan's not had and could have cost him a couple of times is his experience, and you can't buy that. No matter how good you think you are, and no matter, you know, what talent you've got, you do need an element of experience, and that only comes with time and operating and things happening with you. You learn from getting beat.
And the other thing, of course, against the backdrop of this week, the somberness of what happened in Manchester, the flowers being laid behind, you know, all day. There was a vigil here last night, and you know, we obviously are regulars at the Manchester Arena, and we're also dads of young kids. You know, our hearts go out absolutely to the victims, to the families, and it takes, you know, a bit of a shine obviously off on Saturday night, and rightfully so, as you think about the emotions and all that. And George Groves, not only has he got that to deal with, but he's also got the Edward Goodneck situation to deal with. In his last fight, Goodneck obviously you know, going through rehabilitation, but it's going to be a long process, and suffered some very serious injuries. So difficult, isn't it, really? If you're thinking of George Groves this week, that's a difficult scenario.
Yeah, I mean, you know, what happened in Manchester is just awful. It's horrendous, and as you say, as a parent, that's the first thing you think about. You know, George is also a parent now. You know, and so yeah, with everything that's going on, he'll have felt that even more as well. You know. The boxing side of things, you have to be selfish. You have to put all them sort of thoughts behind Goodnick. You have to put that behind. You can't go into.
It's a close-knit family, isn't it? As Britain and the world come together, you know, about the revulsion, the terrible incidents in Manchester, you know, uniting very strongly. The boxing fraternity community has always been like that, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has, because you know it's fraught with, boxing's a dangerous sport, and no matter, you know, what beef we have with opponents, with, you know, with colleagues, with trainers, whatever, you know, when it comes to it, everybody cares about everybody. You know, this is boxing. We want everybody to go home safe. You know, we don't want anything to happen long-term wise for fighters. And you know, it's a brutal sport, it's a hard sport, but every fight that they deserve all the success that they get.
Tony joining us. We're just talking about the Edouard Gutneck situation, and for George Groves, you know, that's difficult. Obviously, we've had the terrible incidents in Manchester this week, and it's been, I mean, horrible for the nation. George has obviously that. He's a father of a young child. He'll have obviously thought about that, but also he has the Gutneck situation, which is the last opponent he fought is seriously injured. And how, as fighters, how does that play? He's got a world title fight in front of him. Is it just selfish business, tunnel vision? How do you deal with that?
I'm very fortunate that I haven't been in that position, so I'm speaking of how I think I would feel and not as matter of fact. I think he just has to shut it out. I think it's the only way he can go about it. I mean, we know this sport is very dangerous, and we know these incidents very rarely do happen. I mean, we're very fortunate we have the best board of control in the world, in my opinion. You know, they take every possible action they can. They foresee, you know, all these things happen, and they prepare for it too. So as a fighter, you just have to focus on you, because ultimately you have to think that could be me. So there is no, I don't mean to sound, there is no sentiment here or nothing like that, but there is no time to have any worry or fear of that, because the minute that happens, you're in the wrong sport, Adam. We have to focus on the task ahead of us, and George Groves is going in with a good fighter in Fedor Chudinov. He cannot think about the past with Edouard Gutneck. He has to focus on the man in front of him, because if he doesn't, that will be his downfall.
As fighters, you just can't think like that, can you? You've got to. It's a business, it's your career, and it's your life.
It is, and you know, I guess there's a footballer, well, there is footballers out there right now. We have one in Seamus Coleman at Everton Football Club, a broken leg. We've had it before.
You quite like Everton, don't you?
Just a little bit. We've had it before with players breaking legs, and like Brian Oviedo, when they come back, there's the fear of going into a challenge. They have to, it takes time to overcome that fear. I've spoken to lads who have had it before, Ross Barkley also, so it just takes time, and I'm sure George is going to be a little bit apprehensive at the start. I think we'd be foolish to think he wouldn't, but I'm pretty sure the minute Chudinov hits him, he will click into George Groves, the old George Groves that we know.
We saw that with Chris Eubank a bit, didn't we, towards sort of end of his career, and whether he'd pull the trigger, and did he, you know, I remember when he fought Henry Wharton and he called the referee in, and obviously after what happened with Michael Watson. So you just, I suppose, don't know until you're in the heat of it.
I think with someone like Eubank, it's more razzmatazz and it's more for the cameras. I always remember watching Roy Jones Jr. do it, and he boxed the postman. That's what his nickname was, and I remember him beating him and begging the referee to stop. Keith Bryant, I think his name was, and as he calls him in to stop, you could see Roy Jones is pleading with this referee, but there's got to be a time in where you can't think like that, and you have to just go out there and do a job. Ultimately, everybody is here, we're excited, it's a fight. And to everybody else here, it's a sport and it's entertainment. But to us, Adam, it's just a fight.
And Dave, if you were in the corner, like Shane McGuigan's going to be on Saturday night, is it just you piece it through round after round after round, and you've got a structure, you've got your tactics, and you just don't deviate unless obviously something happens in the fight that you've got to adjust?
No, I mean, when we're working together, when he's fighting, it's round by round. You know, you have a game plan. You know what you've got to do, what you've got to stick with, but you're going through the fight and you're working it as round as a round, and whatever's happening in that fight, you adjust to, because you have to, because there's certain things in fights where you'll have to adjust, you know, and you have to prepare for every eventuality in boxing.
So what are you preparing for now for him?
I prefer him to get back in shape.
It's rock hard, this. I don't know what he's talking about. We've done a very hard session today. A really good punching session. Yes.
The first punching session, what about the first proper punching session?
So I punched hard today. I think the punches were actually harder. Might have been because of the extra weight. But the technique was still there, and that is the most important thing.
You haven't forgotten that?
I haven't forgotten it. I mean, I've tried to forget it, and she's tried to dwindle away around me, so I forget bits, but ultimately, it's all still up here.
Any ideas? When? Where? Are we looking at November, December? I think that's realistic.
Well, realistically, before the end of the year, yeah. And we'd like to know which avenue we're going down pretty soon, to be honest.
There's a few avenues, aren't there?
What I would say is speak to little legs and long legs. This is what I would like to say.
Long legs.
So
Listen, little legs and long legs make decisions, and then we discuss it with chunky hips here.
Little legs, long legs, and the baldy Russians. So they'll talk it over, and the decisions can't be left to me, Adam. I'm a danger to myself.
He'd fight anybody.
Yeah.
No, seriously, joking apart, he would fight anybody, and that's something that he has to be protected from.
There's only one man who I would never fight, and that is AJ. So
yeah, we know that. But if there was,
I don't fancy getting beat up off anyone, to be honest, especially him.
If there was any other heavyweight in that ring right now, and you had to fight them, who would it be?
That's a good question. No one's asked me that one. Joseph Parker.
Sensible.
Yeah, that's the one that I would say. Forget about, you know, the Giants.
I just wish
Forget
John
the
Ruiz
Giants.
still was here and had the belt. Because he's perfect for me. I think about people like him all the time. John Ruiz was absolutely made for Tony Bellew. It would have just been, John, come back and get a belt back and we can do something.
John, come back. I'm sure John's having a really nice life out in Boston these days. Meanwhile, he's here. The Saint has arrived. George Groves. There's something about him, isn't there, boys? There's an enigma, a fascination about George. He's done it his way. He's always been different. He's always been controversial. You know what? Even Eddie Hearn wants to see him win this world title on Saturday night.
I'm not surprised because he's made Eddie a fortune over the years.
But there's no love lost there, is there? Or there hasn't been?
No, there hasn't been, and you know there's an edge there, but
it's taken two to tango with him and Froch, obviously.
You can't deprive George Groves of winning the world title. He's definitely good enough. He's always done it the hard way. He's seeked out some of the best fighters in the division. I mean, I would love to see him win this and then him and James come together again. It would just be perfect. I mean, me and the coach have different opinions on that fight. I still think James done enough. The coach thinks George done enough. But listen, I would love to see them two come together again. That could be big.
We'll get your thoughts in a sec. Let's just get Andy Clark to welcome George into the ring for this thriving crowd here in Sheffield.
So we've met Fedor Chudinov, ladies and gentlemen. Now time to meet the other half of our chief supporting contest on Saturday night. 12 rounds for the vacant WBA Super World Super Middleweight title. A fighter whose record reads 28 fights, 25 wins, 18 of those wins coming by way of knockout. He is a former British, Commonwealth and European champion, a three-time world title challenger, and he is confident that Saturday night will be the night when he captures that elusive world title. Please welcome to the ring from Hammersmith, St. George Groves.
George Groves and the man in his corner, just outside the ropes, a man that these two know very well in Shane McGuigan, who of course was behind David Hay and earlier this year Carl Frampton. Shane's stable, which includes Josh Taylor, amongst others. But George Groves is the one we're focusing on now. I want to go back to that thought about the Groves-de Gale rivalry. If he beats Chudinov, it's the fight I'm sure everybody wants to see. They've got huge history. George has done the double over him as an amateur and a pro. Just the first professional fight at the O2. Who won that for you, Dave?
George Groves, without a doubt. George Groves.
I thought the man who pressed the whole fight was James de Gale, and non-stop work rate and pressure. Listen, I'll admit it was close. It was a close fight, but for me, I thought James done enough on the night.
But it's no good pressuring if you're not landing.
Yeah, well, you know.
Whose corner were you in at the time?
George Groves.
I thought there was a reason for that.
Who's your mate?
He's always been my friend, but as we know, I am very, very honest in delivering opinions on the sport and who I think won. I even say openly say some of my friends have lost over the years, you know. But I don't know, we'll see. It's
Okay, and then the all-important question now, because if James successfully defends his title next time out and George wins on Saturday night, we're looking at a super fight, aren't we? Probably in the autumn, maybe early next year. You know, who wins this one?
Do you know what? I've said for the last year, 18 months or so, I think James has grown as a fighter, and I think he's talent-wise, he's always had the talent, but I think as a fighter, he's grown. And I think, or I've thought, that James wins a rematch. I've been saying that for the last 18 months. Does
styles not make fights?
It does, but I just think that the performance of George Groves and the performance of De Gale over the last 18 months, 2 years, I think James has looked the better fighter. But now I'm going to tell you, in James's last fight, last fight especially, I think things are starting to catch up on him. I think he's just aging as a fighter. I think his reflexes are going, he's getting caught more. And I think George Groves is just now finding his rhythm back with his jab. He's working well with his chin, he's got him back behind that jab, and I think now it's a very, very close fight. I can't call the fight now.
Are you thinking that James may be slightly on the slide, or do you think he's still finding top form? I mean, that was a hard fight he had with Badu Jack, obviously, but before that, he's ripped up this super middleweight division in the last couple of years.
You know, fantastic victories, Adam. You know, you look at the going stateside to beat Andre Dirrell, a fantastic fighter in his own right, and then going to another fighter's backyard in Lucien Boutte and just dealing with him, you know, easily swept him aside. And James he's an enigma.
So is George.
Yeah, for different reasons, yes, but James he just does so many good things in the boxing. I know James because I've sparred hundreds of rounds with him over the years. Never ever, people always question James De Gale's toughness. How much does he want to fight?
You can't question his toughness after Badu Jack.
Trust me, I've known James a long time. James De Gale right now is the best super middleweight in the world. Closely followed by, in my opinion, Callum Smith, George Groves, and so on. You know, this is a make or break fight for George. There is nowhere to go if this one doesn't go his way. I mean, I'm right in believing this is for the full world title. So, you know, he wins this. George, in all honesty, is going to.
Are you saying if he loses this to Chudinov and maybe even gets stopped, if that happens, do you think it is the end of the road?
This is the weakest world champion he's faced, Adam. And you know, I'm not trying to take anything away from George or Fedor Chudinov, but this is the weakest world challenger he's faced, and it is the weakest world challenger in the super middleweight division by some way. So there will be no way back from this if he loses, in my opinion.
Wonderful jab. He's always had power. I know, Tony, we were talking about the toughness he always showed in the amateurs. There's loads to love about George Groves. There is the air of vulnerability, which adds to the package. That's why people want to see him. Can he put it all together? You know, when it really matters now. He's had fleeting moments, nearly beating Carl Froch, you know, pushing it close with Badu Jack. You know, is this the night where it all comes together?
Well, I think Tony's touched on that. You know, it's his best opportunity. If he can't beat Chudinov on Saturday night, then he's had his easiest opportunity and he's not taken it. And I think on Saturday night, I think you're going to see the best of George Groves that we've seen for a long, long time, and coupled with the fact that he isn't against a weaker opponent, and I think he's going to win it. I do think he's going to win, and I think he's going to impress as well.
Let's widen it out though. So James De Gale, there was talk of him fighting Callum Smith. That hasn't happened. Callum's going to fight Anthony Dirrell September the 9th in LA, which is, you know, probably in boxing terms a smart move, although it would have been a big money fight with De Gale, maybe a bit early. Just a quick line before we go and join Sky Sports News. Who's going to be the one standing at the end of all this?
That's $1 million question. Right now, I think they're just so even, and it's all about timing as well. Like as I've touched on, James De Gale, for me, a hard career starting to catch up on him. George Groves, he's got to impress on Saturday night. Callum Smith, is he ready to step up? There's a lot to talk about.
It's a fascinating division, always has been at 12 stone. George Groves, bang in the mix, massive fight for him on Saturday night.
Yeah, welcome back. Beautiful evening here in the sunshine, and George Groves is in the ring. Joining me, Cruiserweight World title holder Tony Bellew, to discuss matters. Let's take you inside the ring itself and see Shane McGuigan with the pads, and of course George Groves with the gloves. And surely, Tony, after all this time, after all these attempts, it's going to be fourth time lucky for George Groves, isn't it?
I think it will be, Fraser. I really do. You know, I think this is the right fight at the right time. He's going in with Fedor Chudinov, you know, the weakest of the super middleweight champions. But George has shown, you know, considerable improvements since being with Shane McGuigan. That jab is working again. He looks extremely strong, very big at the weight. You know, I see George Groves winning, you know, quite spectacularly on Saturday night against Fedor Chudinov.
And given the fact that he's got such experience in what is a very, very tough division indeed, that could be the difference, couldn't it, for George Groves, the fact that he's been in with the top level of fighter.
He's been in with, you know, the big names at the super middleweight division. You know, but the thing that we all forget, the thing that makes George Groves very exciting is that air of vulnerability. We know he can be hurt, but we also know he's very brave. So, you know, George Groves might go down, but George Groves will get up and he will carry on fighting. So this is what draws to him. Although he has everything stacked in his favour, the ball is in his court in this fight, Fraser. It really is. He has the height, he has the reach advantage, he has the strength advantage, he has the experience advantage over Fedor Chudinov, but he still can be hurt. Make no mistake about that. And that's why he's so appealing. That's why he's getting his 4th opportunity at a world title at this stage of his career.
We can't wait to see what happens. Tony, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Plenty more, of course, on skysports.com, where we're feeding the whole of the workouts live. Plenty more to come on Sky Sports News HQ as well. We'll be hearing from George Groves himself very, very soon. And the workout has finished for George Groves, and he joins me now. George, terrific turnout here in the sunshine. How much are you looking forward to this on Saturday night?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, it's been to Sheffield a lot over the years, but this is the nicest time. It's so sunny, you know. I didn't want to be out here for too long, you know, red hair and all, and we're saving it for Saturday. So, yeah, but it's great. It's great that so many people are here. It's exciting.
Fingers crossed the sun shines on you on Saturday night, and at the 4th attempt, you get your hands on a world title. Yeah, you know, everyone knows the story now, but we're feeling good. We've had a great camp. You know, I'm sure this will be my time. Just counting down the days now, you know, just raring to go. And what about the opportunity you've got here with Fedor Chudinov, given his experience and the level that he's been in with before? The odds must surely be in your favour. Yeah, I think they are. You know, obviously he's competed at the highest level, but relatively inexperienced, you know, he's but former world champion. I feel that we might not know the best Chudinov yet, you know, so certainly not taking him lightly, not taking my eye off the ball. We've prepared as best we possibly can. We feel we're ready, and we're going to beat him. With that in mind, then, what can we expect to see from the current George Groves? I'm ready for anything, Joe. If they show up with this little ring, we'll have it. We're getting there and have a scrap now, do you know what I mean? As I say, it's the 4th time. I can't bear to not come out with a win. So we got a few things up our sleeve as always, but we're in a good place. We're going to make it count, and we're going for a knockout. Is experience going to be the key? Well, I hope it's one of the keys. You know, I think it's certainly I'm a better fighter now than I was in my previous world title attempts. I feel I'm working with a better team. I feel I'm better prepared, and you know, you never know much about experience. You know, you think you got it, you never know. So hindsight's a wonderful thing, but I feel I've learned a lot from my previous defeats, and you know, they're going to help me certainly Saturday night. And you've dreamed about this for many, many years. You've had the opportunities before, but if you were to be finally raising your hands at the end of the fight and getting your hands on that world title belt, what would it mean to you? I just mean the absolute world, do you know what I mean? I know the pressure's on. You know, I know that it's a long, hard road back after a loss, especially, you know, for a world title, and I couldn't bear to go through that again. So, you know, it's gonna mean so much more. Maybe it will mean more than ever because, you know, I've been unlucky before, and I've come unstuck and been beat before. So, yeah, I'm hoping for the win, and then I'm looking forward to that feeling. Just finally, what's your message for the Sheffield crowd who are here today? I think, you know, I mean, it's great to see everyone out here. Everyone's excited about the show weekend. You know, they got their man Kell Brook in there in a tough fight, but a fantastic fight. And, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing that fight. And there's a couple of decent lads on the undercard as well, so you're in for a treat. We look forward to it. George, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Best of luck to you. Let's see on Saturday night if it is fourth time lucky for St. George Groves.
Thank you, Fraser. As George Groves just leaves the ring, we'll try and, well, either get a word with him. We might not, actually, because he was saying the red hair and the sun.
Yeah, you know what these redheads are like. He's never been a fan of the sun, as George.
Yeah, don't blame him, to be totally honest. Fair-skinned boy, ginger hair.
He'll be coming in the ring about 9:30, so even if we've got a little bit of daylight left, it won't be warm. And, you know, he'll be right and ready, won't he, for this?
Oh, without doubt, Adam. I'm sure he's left nothing, you know, to chance. No stone left unturned in camp. One thing about George Groves is I'll always say he's always fit. He's always in shape. He looks to be an all-round, an all-year-round athlete. He's got everything going for him into this fight, the size, the reach, the strength advantage. He's even got more experience than Chudinov. You know, I just can't foresee this in any way going pear-shaped unless that vulnerable side comes out again. So, you know, I'm looking forward to it.
When you went over to do an interview with Fraser for Sky Sports News, I was asking Dave, of this magic mix in the super middleweight division, the likes of James DeGale and George and Callum Smith, obviously, who we're all, you know, big supporters of, great young fighter. Now, who's going to be the last man standing in a year's time? Where are we going to be?
A year's time is hard to predict.
18 months?
18 months, without a shadow of a doubt, Callum Smith will be the last man standing. I have no doubt in my mind. Callum Smith will reign at super middleweight and light heavyweight for a number of years.
Do you think he would have beaten James DeGale if they'd fought in July?
That's a hard one. It's a big ask because
I don't like asking you easy questions.
Callum hasn't been in with anyone at that level yet, not even close. And James has done at that level on numerous occasions. Adam, and he always finds a way. It's a hard one to predict. I mean, there's so many different factors in the fight. You know, how do we know how Callum's going to feel when put on the back foot? Yeah. How would James feel being nailed by Callum hard? Because I believe Callum hits harder than Badou Jack. You know, Callum swept aside many challenges within the space. You know, the Rocky Fielding fight, it was over in the first round. You know, there's fights where I've seen him physically push, like the Rabras fight at times, but then there's fights where I think it was Mohammadi, the fight that no one expected him to just go in and blow him away like he did, and he did do it. So I can make cases for both guys, but ultimately experience always becomes a factor in them kind of fights, and it's just too soon, in my opinion, right now for Callum. But I do see Callum as the future of the division.
Callum goes out and beats Anthony Durrell in LA.
That once again, that's a hard fight. Anthony Durrell's mixed at the higher class, but he's a lot easier to hit than his brother, and that will be the telling factor. Callum Smith will knock out Anthony Durrell probably late.
Dave, you're nodding.
Yeah, I agree. Anthony's a lot easier to hit than his brother, without a doubt. And yeah, he does. He's bravery, like, he's that sort of style. Now,
that's all the super middleweight division. Now let's concentrate on the welterweights. Here he comes, the truth from Dallas in Texas, the unbeaten Errol Spence Jr. waiting to come in for his final workout back to Andy Clark.
So time for Saturday night's main event now, ladies and gentlemen. At Bramall Lane and live on Sky Sports box office, we have 12 rounds for the IBF Welterweight Championship of the World. And first, allow me to introduce the challenger. As an amateur, he represented the United States at the London 2012 Olympics. As a professional, he has a perfect record, 21 fights and 21 wins, 18 of those wins coming by way of knockout. Please welcome, from Dallas, Texas, the truth, Errol Spence Jr. A
slight ripple of applause and a huge chorus of boos, as you'd imagine, for the visiting American. He's meant to be the next big thing for the States. People have been saying for the last 2 or 3 years, this guy could become pound for pound king, he could become the new Mayweather, etc., etc. We've heard it before. We heard it when Jeff Lacey came and fought Joe Calzaghe, but we saw how good Terence Crawford was when he came and fought Ricky Burns. I think it's simple. How good is Errol Spence Jr.?
He's very good, Adam, but I'm going to make a fact right now. He's shrunk in the last week. His face looks drawn, and I've said this from day one, he will have as much of a struggle getting to 147 as Kell. He has physically shrunk from what he was 3 days ago, the last time I saw him. So, but he will rehydrate. The two of them will get in there at full-fledged. This kid has all the attributes to be a star. We just don't know how good he is yet. He's in the same situation Anthony Joshua was in going into the Klitschko fight. He's been too good for his own good so far. Saturday night is his litmus test. We find out if he can beat someone at the elite level of the sport.
So many people, Tony, talking about the weight issues of Kell Brook, going up to middleweight, many feeling he should have gone to super welterweight, the old light middleweight division, rather than defend his IBF crown at 10 stone 7, that he's dragging himself down, that he won't be healthy, that it'll be tough down the stretch, all of those things. But you're saying as well that Spence is a big welterweight and that he's had to come down. So is it even Stevens on that front?
I think it's a little bit different. I think Kell is going to struggle more with going to 160 and not having an inch of body fat on him. But make no mistake, Spence is slightly the bigger man here. He doesn't have the muscle density or the muscle mass that Kell Brook has, but he has that slight height advantage. When it's all said and done, Adam, these two are very evenly matched. They're two brilliant fighters. The only thing that's setting them aside from each other at this moment in time is experience. You know, they're very evenly matched in power stakes, technical ability. I think Kell makes people miss a lot better than Errol Spence does. But then I also think Errol Spence goes to the body a lot better than Kell Brook. So they both have little things going for each other. Ultimately, it's going to come down for, is Errol Spence ready at this stage of his career? And that's what we're going to find out on Saturday. We know Kell Brook's ready, Adam. We know he's ready. Is Errol Spence ready for this level? That's the question on everybody's lips.
Johnny, it's wonderful, isn't it, to see this huge crowd here in the centre of Sheffield. It's a terrific night on Saturday, and this is a great fight, isn't it?
It's a great fight. Listen, even Kell's supporters know this is a tough 50-50 fight. Errol Spence is coming in here as so supremely confident. The American media is coming here thinking this is a done deal. This is not a done deal. I agree with Tony. I actually think this might have come a little too early for Errol Spence, unless he really shines come Saturday night. The one thing he's going to discover Saturday night is true Yorkshire hospitality. How is he going to deal with the roar of that crowd, the boos and everything? 27,000 people there. So some fighters, it's fight or flight. When that happens to them, they go into their shell. Intimidates them, or they think, right, if you're going to get me, I'm going to get your boy before you get me. It's how he deals with that.
You say it's a 50-50 fight. Errol Spence is a big favourite.
It doesn't matter what the bookies say. It doesn't matter what we say. You know, you've got to look at the fighters, look at what they've achieved, look at what they do, look at their punch power, look at their stats, look at their success rate, look at the opponents they've fought. This is a 50-50 fight.
Looking at Errol Spence now and the team, he's got a lot of people with him there. He's come with a team. A man who's as confident as that does not come with a 10-man strong team. He comes with a trainer, a cut man, you know, a guy to carry the bags. This guy's come with a squad of 10 people.
His wife and kids are ringside as well, because he's not going to fly them halfway around the world.
He's losing, Johnny.
Expecting to lose.
Yes.
You know, so if his wife and kids are ringside, he's come.
Let's also bring in the American TV giant SHOWTIME, who have turned up in their truckloads. They really believe in this Errol Spence Jr.
Yeah, Adam, he's seen as the future of boxing. You know, they don't see him as just the future of American boxing. They see him as a man that's going to carry on what Floyd Mayweather did. Maybe not financially make the same sort of money, but as far as talent, dominating the sport, they all look at Errol Spence and think he's the man. You know, and talent-wise and the way he's looked so far, he's ticked every box, you know. There's a little chink in his armour. We've seen him hurt. You know, we have seen him hurt. But great fighters have been hurt before. Look at Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya got hurt, got dropped several times in his early fights, but still look at the career that he had.
Kell was telling me that he thought it might be reminiscent of Prince Nassim Hamad's trip to New York when he took on Kevin Kelly, that he fancies a real humdinger. Could we be seeing something as electric as that?
Do you know what? I believe we could, because Kell's confidence right now is going to be sky high. The way that he performed and the shots that he took off Triple G, he knows he's got a chin, he knows that he's tough, and he knows he can have a fight because he stood there in the trenches with Golovkin, the most fearsome puncher in the sport. Now, he doesn't believe that Errol Spence can stand there with him, and we've not seen Errol Spence get hit in a ferocious fight against somebody that can punch like Kell Brook. So, if Kell fancies turning it into a tear-up, this could very well be a tear-up.
You know, I'm looking at him on the pads there, and I can't remember which fight it was. And one time he saw a fighter, in fact, it was Mayweather's uncle. He had Ricky Hatton on the pads, and he was stood with him as an orthodox fighter when he was actually fighting a southpaw. And I'm looking at the height of the pads he's got him on, and you know what? He needs to try and simulate Kell's style. Walk forward, drop the pads down, head high, dropping down body high. If that's how he's been working, you know, it's gonna take him a few rounds to get the measure of Kell, because he's not working fight specific.
And Kell Brook, obviously from Johnny's Winkerbank stable, they're switch hitters there. He's had a ton of southpaw opponents, the likes of Kevin McIntyre, who he destroyed in Scotland, Barry Jones, Michael Lomax, Jojo Dan, you know, huge numbers of port-sided fighters. So he's not going to worry about that.
No, he absolutely loves fight. I believe he stopped. I think he stopped. He's fought about 5 southpaws, and I think he stopped every one of them. The thing about Kell, he has got a very good right hand, and against a southpaw, the right hand lands every time. The other thing that Kell's very good at is he catches he throws his left hook over the top of their jab. So if he pokes out a little short arm jab like he's doing on the pads there, I can see Kell whipping in that left hand, like left hook over the top of it.
Has got a reach though on him, hasn't he, Spence?
He has, and he looks very well built at the same time. You know, these are short, compact punches. I definitely do think he's shrunk. I'll stand by that, Adam. I've seen him at presses. I've seen him in the build-up to this. His body's come in. He's obviously dropped a lot of water since then.
You're looking at your man here.
Yeah, because you're going to see that with Kell as well. Kell, when you see Kell on the scales, he's shrunk. He looks very, very small. And then you see him the next day, he looks massive.
He does. He's more compact of the two. Kell's going to be a lot more relaxed in this, but I will state this: if Spence hits the body like I've seen him do in previous fights, that will be a factor. He's not showing it now, and he's not going anywhere to the body. They're going all to the head. They probably don't even want him to think of the body shots, but that will be where he goes at him. It's one of his best weapons in his arsenal. He's technically very good. I mean, these shots now, this is for the TV, it's for show. None of them are extended. None of them are to find the range. He's just touching pads for the sake of touching pads for the cameras. When you'll see when he gets in the ring, he's going to try and get out of range with Kell Brook. He's going to try and dictate the pace, and he will do that by hitting him to the body. Ultimately, that will dictate the pace of the fight.
Well, we on Sky have been lucky enough to see Errol Spence up close and personal in America. And I tell you what, I think he is one terrific fighter. I think it's a very, very tough ask this for Kell Brook. But that's what Brook likes, being the underdog and making statements.
Welcome back, Jim. It's a beautiful, gloriously sunny evening, but don't believe a word that Johnny Nelson tells you about it always sun shining in Sheffield, because it's not true. We will show you the truth, though, the truth that is Errol Spencer. He is in the ring right now with his trainer being put through his paces, and first thing to say is that he appears to have brought a bit of the Texan sunshine with him, which is nice, but how do you think he's going to adapt to this on Saturday night? Because he's stepping onto a big stage. It'll be a hostile crowd, 25,000 plus, with a huge amount of expectation on his shoulders.
This is the whole point. He's going to experience what true Yorkshire hospitality is. When he walks into Bramall Lane, there's 27,000 people there, and maybe 5 of them will be shouting for him. It'll make most fighters, it's fight or flight. So when you get into a cauldron like that and they're booing you, it's intimidating. So you think that's such a mindset. You either think, I'm going to take him out before you get me, or it intimidates you. That's number one. Number two, he's come over with a big, strong team with him. If you see his wife here, and especially if you see his child here as well, that shows how confident he is to think he's going to pull a number on Kell, because you do not do that as a fighter if you think you're going to lose. You know what, you want to show off. This is his crowning moment. So we'll see how confident he is. We'll see what team he's brought over. He's brought a massive team over there with him. So now we just saw him on the pads there. I can remember Ricky Hatton training with Floyd Mayweather's dad. And Ricky Hatton was training for Southpaw, and Floyd Mayweather's dad had him on the pads as an orthodox. I've just seen Spence there hitting the pads. His coach had the pads up high, not Kell high, his high. I'm thinking, well, that's not fight specific. Getting them down to Kell's shape, Kell's style, pushing forward on the pads. That's how I would look at it. You know, if that's how he's been training, that he's thinking things are going to go his own way. So therefore, what he's got to look at, it's going to take him a couple of rounds to get the measure of Kell. Kell needs to jump on him from the off, hit him hard at least once in the first round, at least once in the second round, so he knows when Kell hits him with a thudding, stunning jab, he's thinking, wow, and he thinks twice about jumping in. Errol Spencer's never lost, so he's not used to losing as a professional. So now he's going in there with a winner's mentality, because he expects to get a number here. He looks even drawn now as well, because all of a sudden I thought the biggest issue was Kell and the weight. Spence looks like he's drawn at the weight. He looks a completely different figure from what I saw when he came over for the press conference. So both fighters, even though Kell's is probably bigger news that he struggles to the weight, I think Spence does as well. And so we'll see. So as this fight unfolds, we'll see who's weak at the weight, who's strong at the weight when he gets past 3, 4, 5 rounds. But this is about tactics. Kell has to establish himself, hit him hard, establish his power, make Spence realise that. And Spence has got to somehow keep the range, trying to outbox Kell. He's a pretty orthodox southpaw, which means he's easy to hit. Every southpaw Kell has boxed, I think he's actually stopped them all. So that means he pops them. So this is a good 50-50 fight.
We can't wait. So many questions that have to be answered in this fight. We'll have the press conference tomorrow, and then on Friday, that will be very interesting when we see the pair of them on the scales and see what sort of weight they are as they approach that 147 limit. We'll hear from Errol Spence Jr. very, very soon. There's plenty more on skysports.com as well. Join us for that later. Beautiful sunny evening here in Sheffield. Errol Spence Jr. has just finished his workout. It looks like you brought some of the Texan weather with you for this week.
Oh, yeah, it's feeling good out here. Last week was a little bit rainy, but it looked like Texas weather did come down here, and I love it.
You've had a good reception so far, but I'm sure you're under no illusions that this will be a little bit different here on Saturday night.
Definitely. It's expected. I mean, it's expected, but, you know, I can't let that get to me. And I've been getting a lot of support out here. You know, a lot of people have been supporting me and been telling me they're rooting for me, so I'm not worried about it at all. You know, he's going to have his hometown fans, and, you know, I'm going to have some of my fans, but eventually everybody will be my fans at the end of the night.
You've fought in some hostile atmospheres before. How do you handle it?
You just got to handle it. Just got to be in you. You know, you just got to have that it factor, and I think I have it, and I'm not worried about, you know, the crowd. I'm not worried about the boos or anything like that.
There's a lot of pressure on Kell Brook's shoulders, obviously, because he's the home fighter in front of his home fans. But from what we hear of your reputation in America, there's a lot of pressure on your shoulders too.
I don't feel the pressure at all. I feel like it's more pressure on him because he's fighting at home. He has to please his family and his friends and all the hometown people that come to see him fight. But, of course, there's pressure on me to win, but I welcome that pressure because, it's going to do nothing but motivate me and make me more hungry and make me want to win even more.
We've seen you in action in the last couple of fights against good seasoned pros, the likes of Chris Algieri and Leonard Bundu. But how much of a step up is this going to be in class as far as Kell Brook is concerned?
It's a good step up. Kell Brook, he's a good fighter. He's a guy that's a fight, has a lot of great skills, and I welcome that step up. It's something that I've been asking for a long time, and I'm finally getting my opportunity.
And you are very confident that you're going to be coming away from here with that belt. What is it that drives that confidence?
My confidence comes from my hard work. I know the hours and the time that I put in the gym. I know the hours and time that the people around me, put into me. And I know I work hard. I'm a student of the game. I give it 120% every time I'm in the gym and every time I'm in training camp. So I'm 100% prepared. I'm 100% focused, and I'm 100% ready to give the fans what they want, a real great fight.
And you believe this is your time? You're going to become world champion?
Definitely. This is my time. This is my era. This is my time to shine. This is my time to get the belts. This is my time to unify and become the undisputed welterweight champion of the world. So this is just another stepping stone to get to where I want to be, my ultimate goal.
Errol, thanks for speaking to us. We wish you the best of luck. Errol Spence Jr. ready to go here at Bramall Lane on Saturday night.
So we've seen Errol Spence do about 15 minutes or so in the ring. He looks relaxed. He looks happy to be here. He's got a scrum of media around him. I'm not sure we'll even get him up here, but we've got you, Dave, and we've got you, Johnny. Let's take the Sheffield, Kell, Winkerbank hats all off here. If you were in Errol Spence's corner, what would you be saying to him to beat Kell Brook?
First of all, let's get something clear. I think if Kell has not prepped right for this, he loses, point blank.
Has he prepped right?
And so what we're hearing, if he has prepped right, at least the last 6 weeks, we know he's prepped right, but it's got to be a 12-week camp. If he's not prepped right for this, he loses. And that's my take on it. If he has prepped right, I think he pulls it off. But if I was in Errol Spence's corner, he's got long limbs, he's got whipping shots, he's got that southpaw style. He's pretty orthodox for a southpaw, but he's got a nice long reach. I would pop and box and drag Kell to the second half of the fight and then put my foot on the pedal. Because regardless if Kell's made the weight right or not, he will slow down. That weight, that struggle to make the weight, will get harder for him the second half of the fight. And that's what I would tell Errol Spence, box him, because he's got the longer reach, he's got the good footwork. Kell's got to walk him down. So he's got to box on the defensive for the first half of the fight, and the second half of the fight, box on the offensive. And that's when he's going to put Kell under pressure.
Dave, I know you had Kell for a few fights. I'm not sure whether they were southpaw opponents at the time, but you know he's always dealt, Barry Jones, yeah, he's always dealt with southpaws very, very well. If you were in Kell's corner on Saturday night, what would you be telling him about beating this crafty southpaw?
I think the main thing for Kell Brook is to make sure that Errol Spence doesn't get in range to fire those body shots off. I think his body punching is second to none, and he's quite vicious as well. He whips the shots in.
And if the weight and the camp and all that,
yeah. If the weight, 100%, if the weight. But even if the weight's fine, those body shots are crippling body shots because they put them together nicely. He's got great balance. He's got very, very good balance on his leg when he's working his shots. Kell's very good at whipping that left hook over the top. So when Errol Spence is coming forward, he can whip that left hook over. And what he fires well is a left hook right hand shot.
What he's also got to remember is when he goes for those body shots, he's got to drop it down there. And that's perfect for Kell up there. So if he's going to go for those body shots, he's got to make sure he's either fast enough to get him in and get the guard up, or make sure he's out of range and then whip them.
Who's quicker?
I think Kell's jab is quicker, but I think Errol Spence his all-round shots are quicker. His variation of body shots, head-to-body shots, are quicker. And that's why. But at welterweight, after what we saw at Kell at middleweight, I'm thinking, will you be as strong? Will you be as powerful? So these are the questions we've got to find out and ask. And even after this fight, if Kell does come through this fight, he's got to seriously consider if he wants to stay at welterweight, because each fight is a dangerous fight for him the older he gets, because the weight's an issue.
It's fantastic that he is staying at welterweight, that he's taken on Golovkin going up, that he's meeting this dangerous Errol Spence Jr. Take nothing away for guts and courage in Kell Brook, but is it the sensible decision? Errol Spence is just coming up behind us. I think we're going to grab a quick word with him, and I'm sure he'll talk to us because he's been so happy and relaxed. Errol, come on up here. Thank you very much. Good to see you. Nice to see you. You look happy to be here. You're in Britain, the sun's shining, and everything right and ready ahead of Saturday night.
Definitely. The weight's on point, and I just can't wait. Training camp's been going great. You know, it's sunny out here finally, and I can't wait for the fight.
Yeah, people are saying, how will he travel? He's had everything, you know, there in America for him. How do you answer that in front of sort of 27,000, obviously, pro Kell Brook fans? You just block that out, concentrate on you. You're mentioning the it factor, that you've got it. Is that what it's about?
Well, I came here early just to get adjusted. You know, the jet lag and everything else that happens when you travel, and especially when you're training, you're not really getting to sleep when you travel over here. So I came over to get adjusted and get acclimated, and I feel like, you know, I'm adjusting and acclimated now. I feel like just 3 or 4 days ago, you know, I just got adjusted to the time change. So, you know, I'm feeling great. You know, my weight's on point, and I can't wait.
We've been ringside in America watching you up close and seeing your array of skills and talking to the American media who say you're the next big thing, you're going to be the pound-for-pound king, all of that. Is that huge expectation on the shoulders, or is that something you just see this as another fight?
To me, I mean, it's not just another fight. You know, this is a world title fight. It's a legacy-defining fight for me to be traveling overseas, fighting the champion in his hometown, and trying to pull out the victory. But it's not another fight at all. But you know, I blocked the other stuff out. You know, it's more motivation than pressure. You know, everybody having high expectations of me to do great and become this great champion, this great fighter. So I just motivation to stay focused because I don't want to let anybody down.
You go into the fight as a betting favourite, which some people here find strange because they see Kell Brook as having fought at a better level, having the skills and the power to be able to deal with you at welterweight. How dangerous do you think Kell Brook is?
Kell Brook is dangerous. Kell Brook, I mean, he's a guy with power, and we fight in 8-ounce gloves. Kell Brook's dangerous. He has skills, he has talent, and he can fight.
So how do you beat him?
We have a game plan. I have skills, I have power. I'm a little bit taller than him. We're the same size, so I mean it's not a huge, weight factor there. So we got a game plan to beat him.
Do you think he'll be struggling at the weight, having fought Golovkin at middle, dragging himself back down, and you'll have the advantage down the stretch, maybe with your body shots?
I believe everybody struggles at weight. I mean, I'm a big guy too. It's not easy for me to come down to 147. It's not my natural weight. It's not Kell's natural weight. Most fighters come down 20 pounds, 25, 30 pounds. For their unnatural weight to fight at a weight class that they, don't belong to fight at. So, I mean, it's hard for everybody to make weight. It's not easy at all. I mean, so
in that way, it's sort of even Stevens as you go into battle, but do you believe you'll have the tactical awareness to be able just to be too cute and clever for Brook?
I don't know about that. I mean, cute and clever, that's not my boxing style at all, but I just feel like we had a game plan to beat him. We had a game plan, and I feel like I have the skills and the natural talent and the smarts to beat him.
When you came head-to-head to him at the press conference, he was talking about his chocolate brownies. You were having a laugh about that. He told me afterwards that he sees this as a Nassim Hamed, Kevin Kelly war, that thriller in Madison Square Garden all the years ago. Do you think you guys might dish up a classic for the fans?
Fight and you get in there, the first thing you look at the backroom staff, you look at who they've rocked up with. So if it's just a man who's bagging his trainer, he's either coming over to make up the numbers or he's supremely confident and he's like in Timbuktu, so nobody else can afford to get out there. Or he does what he's done, he's come out with about 40, 50 people with him to back him up, so they're expecting him to come out with the jewels.
He gave Floyd Mayweather a black eye in sparring all those years ago. He obviously impressed that main man, the silent Al Heyman, and the PBC, and Sam Watson's over here with him. They're not wasting time with him, are they?
No, they don't back guys that I think are going to be also rounds. Not the whole team. The whole team's over here. Like I've said before, they expect him to win. They don't expect anything else other than, I think they expect him not only to win, but to put on a show, and I think they're expecting a stoppage, without a doubt.
It's pretty impressive from an American coming over. I'm just thinking back to maybe when Jeff Lacey came over to fight Joe Calzaghe, other Americans that we've had here. He seems really relaxed.
Yeah, he is. I wonder why Floyd's not signed him. I wonder why Floyd's not signed him. Floyd Mayweather thinks he's that great, that brilliant, the next coming. Why is he not signed him?
But maybe he's not been able to sign him yet. If he's contracted up, I would imagine that whoever signed him got him on a lockdown on a contract. That contract might just be waiting to be running out before he signs him, you know?
Yeah, we'll see. And there's questions that need to be asked, but of course we're waiting for the big Saturday night will sell us all.
Let's bring Tony in. Tony, you weren't here, but Errol Spence just gave us a very candid, revealing interview about and part of it was about the weight. And the fact is that, you know, as you said,
Done that with him before.
he said he was struggling. You know, he said he's struggling just like Kell. It sort of evens on that.
I said it, told you so from day one. I look at his frame and his size. You cannot be that height, that frame, Adam, and not be struggling. He's 100% struggling. He actually looks like he's starting the drying out process now. We'll see Kell Brook coming to the ring now.
Here he comes, and the sounds of all of the lights. And he also has a bunch of flowers which he will lay down in this Peace Gardens, where there was a vigil last night for the victims and families of the tragedy, the horrendous scenes in Manchester Arena on Monday night, which has affected not only the people of the north of England, but everyone in Britain and globally all around the world. And a big round of applause for Kell Brook, paying his tribute and his respect. He's a dad, you're a dad, Dave, of young kids, you are Tony, I am, and it just is one of those weeks which is somber, reflective and emotional.
Truly frightening.
Let's get over to Andy Clark.
So Sheffield, time now for your champion. On Saturday night at Bramall Lane and live on Sky Sports Box Office, he makes the 4th defence of his IBF Welterweight title. His record reads 37 fights and 36 wins, 25 of those wins coming by way of knockout. He is undefeated in the 147-pound division. He is the reigning, the defending IBF Welterweight champion of the world. From Sheffield, the special one, Kell Brook.
Great music, great look. He's got that vibrant, glowing feel to him, Kell Brook. And he has his stage, Tony. You had it at Goodison Park. He's got it at Bramall Lane in front of 25,000 plus people. The homecoming, the big one.
It is, Adam. And it doesn't get any bigger than this for Kell Brook right now. This is Kell Brook's defining fight of his welterweight career. He's got it all to do in this fight. You know, the bookies are against him. He thinks that this guy's over to take away his title. He'll feel right now like the world is against him until he looks out at these thousands of people here who adore him, who support him. Sheffield needs Kell Brook, and Kell Brook needs Sheffield on Saturday night.
As he switches from orthodox to southpaw, skills honed on the Winkerbank Hill, alongside Johnny Nelson, of course. And what Kell's proved to us is, as an underdog against Sean Porter, even when he was in Tenerife and he had to come back from the knife attack, this is a guy, really, and I know it's corny and cringy to say it, full of Sheffield steel, isn't he?
Without a doubt. You look at this now, and we all form an opinion of how the fight would go, you know, come Saturday night. Errol Spence got in the ring, he hit the pads before, he's all right, not bad. You look at the movement of Kell, am I being biased? Are you looking at him thinking this kid looks snappy, he's switching from southpaw to orthodox, he's got nice, smooth movement? I think he has, you know, you just think this is why this is such a good, even Steven fight.
Big smile from Dominic Ingle, who is now, of course, in charge of Kell Brook's training. It was once your responsibility, Dave Caldwell. You had him for a few fights. Did you realise at the time how special he was and how special he was going to be?
The one thing about Kell Brook, we've all said, Johnny, myself, even back to the Naz days, everybody, Brendan's always said it, as long as he is disciplined and focused and lives the life, he can be an absolute superstar.
I tell you what, they're having fun with this crowd. It really is a wonderful atmosphere here in Sheffield. Very different to some of the public workouts we've had before. Obviously, we were with Anthony Joshua and Vladimir Klitschko at Wembley Arena. You might remember David Hay and Tony Bellew as well quite recently down at the O2. But it was different because that wasn't your stage. This is the stage for Kell Brook. It's Sheffield. It's a fight city. You've had the legends of Harold Bomber Graham, of Prince Nassim Hamid, dare we call him one, and Johnny Nelson. This is Kell Brook's time.
It is, and I think these people are feeling it also because all these people are out here to see Kell Brook, and they know he's up against it also, and that's why they're so passionately behind him, Adam. Like I say, this is Kell's defining moment, in my opinion, because if he sees off Errol Spence Jr., he becomes the undisputed welterweight king of the world.
Eddie, when you told me that Kell Brook was fighting Gennady Golovkin, I was like, wow, great, what a risk, take that. When you told me he was fighting Errol Spence, I thought, are you mad? Now I'm beginning to see why you've done it. It's a massive, massive fight, and it's the sort of stage that if Kell Brook performs to his ability, he can move up even further in level, can't he?
I'd like to say that I was the brave one that made the fight. I wasn't. Kell Brook was. I said, look, you know, why stay at 147? It's tough on you to make the weight. Your mandatory is Errol Spence. He said, so what? Let me go and prove that I'm the best welterweight in the world. And I can't tell you how pumped I am for this fight, watching him in that ring in front of us. He looks $1 million. Even the look in his eye, the look on his face tells me that he is absolutely 100% ready for this fight. I've never seen him look like this in the ring before on a workout. You know, against Golovkin, he got in and he was sort of, but this is different. This is focused, this is intense. And he knows how important this fight is for his career.
Is it about how he has prepared over the last 3 months, how the weight's been, how fit he is, how strong he is at welterweight over 12 rounds? Is that the key, that if Brook has that in his locker, he's got the skills for the task?
I honestly don't think, looking at him and knowing the weights that he's been hitting and measuring, that this fight is necessarily about the weight. I did originally, but I think this is going to be about who's the better fighter. You know, I think if Errol Spence is the best welterweight in the world, he beats Kell Brook on Saturday night. If Kell Brook is the best welterweight in the world, he beats Errol Spence. This is what we need. This is what boxing wants, the best versus the best.
The special one is here. Terrific reception from the crowd here at Sheffield at the Peace Gardens. And a lovely gesture as well. As he walked out, he laid flowers amongst all the others that are here for the victims of the Manchester bombings. Solidarity between Sheffield and Manchester, which was lovely to see. Joining me, one of Sheffield's finest. I say so that.
You're saying that, didn't it?
Johnny Nelson. Great to see such a crowd here, Johnny. Let's take you into the ring now because Kell Brook is working out with trainer Dominic Ingle. And we've been saying it, haven't we, for a while. Ever since we've been here this week, he's had a smile on his face, he's got snap in his punches. There's been all sorts of talk about whether or not he's going to make this 147 limit. But at the moment, you don't see any reason why he shouldn't.
I can't, and I look at him, I think, wow, he looks solid. Errol Spence came up and talked to us earlier on. He said, look, he's not the only one that struggled at the weight. I struggled at the weight as well, so let's just make that even Steven. You see what Dominic's doing here now with him? He's just got him on one pad, making him box southpaw and orthodox, and just working off you know, working with a southpaw fighter, throwing the backhand lead. That's how you catch a southpaw. But knowing Dominic like I do, he'll give us as little as possible in this little workout here, and they'll have their game plan, but you know what, they're working on dealing with that southpaw backhand snap. What I mean is, as an orthodox, you'd have your jab the left hand, but you dummy the jab the left hand, then you throw a big right hand, lead with a right hand cross, and finish back with a left hook, and that catches a southpaw every time, no matter what position he's in. So Kell's not going to try and match Errol Spence southpaw for southpaw, but he will at times, just to confuse him a little bit. And Errol Spence will probably not even realise until the round's over what actually happened in the round. It's who draws first blood in this fight, who establishes their game plan. Errol Spence has got long levers, he's got nice movement, but he's got to try and drag Kell up and drag those body shots out of Kell. In doing that, he exposes his own self because he's got to drop the hands down. Kell's work is head high, so he's looking for head shots. Kell is a stunning puncher. What I mean by that is, I don't mean, wow, that looks good. It means, wow, that hurts. He's a stunning jabber. Ask any of his opponents. So that's why this is so intriguing. Again, my point is this. I'm trying to not wear that Kell hat, but what I'm saying is, if he has not done everything right, if he's cut any corners, he loses Saturday night. If he's cut any corners. If he hasn't cut any corners and he's worked on point, he's done it right, then we have got an even Steven 50-50 fight, and he knows that because he's wanting this fight to be like Nassim Hamid and Kevin Kelly, a tear-up. He's prepared for that. Is Errol Spence.
How much of a mark of the man is it that, having fought at 160 against Gennady Golovkin, he refused steadfastly to give up that 147 belt? He's taking the weight off, plus he's taking on probably the most dangerous opponent as a mandatory defence he could have possibly hoped for.
Okay, of course. Now, he could have walked away and given up the belt and gone on to get some lucrative fights at light middleweight or middleweight because of the performance he put on at middleweight against Gennady Golovkin. He said no. Errol Spence is his mandatory challenger, so it's a fight. He could still make as much money fighting somebody else. He said, no, I want this fight. This is what I want. What are you doing? And we all thought that when they announced the Gennady Golovkin fight, what are you doing? So Kell has shown he's got bottle, got supreme confidence. If Errol Spence thinks the loss to Gennady Golovkin has broken his confidence, he's completely wrong. He's risen his confidence.
Okay, let's have a word with the man himself. Going to walk over to ringside, and hopefully once he's taken off his gloves, which he has now, we'll be able to have a little word with him, but he's just having his photograph taken. I'll make my way into the ring, shall I? Lovely picture as Kell Brook has his photo taken. Kell, good to see you. Thanks for talking to us. First of all, Kell, before you came in to do your little workout tonight, a lovely gesture as you brought out flowers for the victims of the Manchester bombings. What is your message to the people of Manchester?
It's heartbroken. You know, it's absolutely. I'm heartbroken with everything that's going on. It's a real downer, but we've got all these people. You know, we love each other, and we need to get back strong.
Terrific to see Sheffield standing shoulder to shoulder. Terrific to see such a big crowd here tonight, to see you working out. What about this crowd here tonight?
Unbelievable crowd. I'm Steel City. I'm Sheffield born and bred, and these are all the crew. So you know, like I said, I've got all my people here. They're behind me 100%. We're gonna rock Sheffield Saturday night.
How big a factor could this crowd be for you on Saturday night?
Well, I'm going to draw some serious energy from these guys because they're going to be screaming, shouting. They're coming to a great event, and like I say, I'm ready. You see me, I'm pumped. I can't wait to let them brownies go.
But by the same token, presumably that puts a lot of pressure on you.
It does put a lot of pressure on me, but I always perform better. I'm meant to be on the big stage, so I'm ready for that pressure. I'm ready to see them bright lights, all of them lights, and like I say, I'm ready to let them chocolates go.
And up against a quality fighter who a lot of the Americans think is the next big star of this division.
Yeah, I mean we're a serious dude, you know, from America. Errol Spence, he's coming. He's a young, hungry lion, you know, but he's not been in with anyone like me. I'm a champion. I've been the challenger. I've gone to the champion's back garden, took the title away. I've defended it. I know what it's like on both sides of the coin, so I prepared very well. I'm Fort Ventura. We all my crew, and like I said, we've put ourselves through hell. I'm ready for a war. That's what you're going to see, a war on Saturday night.
Kell, finally, quickly, what is your message for this crowd here tonight?
I think all these guys know they're going to see a thriller Saturday night. I'm coming to bring it. Errol's going to come to bring it. You know, there's going to be 2 winners that night. That's myself and everybody watching. So tune in Saturday night.
We wish you the best of luck, Kell. Thanks very much indeed for joining us, Kell Brook, in front of a fantastic crowd here in Sheffield. ready to go at Bramall Lane on Saturday night.
Lovely touch from Kell Brook to lay flowers here in the Peace Garden for the respect for the families and victims, obviously, of the tragedy in Manchester. And he's also going over to his own people here in Sheffield too. And there's a warmth, isn't there, in the air? And he looks fantastic.
There is, because he's one of their own. You know, he's born and bred in Sheffield. And he said to me in this fight, you know, I said, look, the O2 is a great arena for boxing. You know, we always sell it out very quickly. He said, no, Sheffield. You know, I did that against Golovkin. I really want to be at Bramall Lane. It's always been a dream of mine to box at Bramall Lane, and we made it happen. 27,000 people on Saturday will see this young man knock out Errol Spence and retain his world title.
Kell, you're looking vibrant, you're looking glowing, you're ready for this, aren't you?
Ready. These people have given me so much energy. It's hard enough quitting weight, but I'm alive with these people here today. In Sheffield, Bramall Lane, I'm pumped, I'm ready to go Saturday, and I'm buzzing, you can tell I'm buzzing. I can't wait to get in, it's going to be a war, I'm ready for it.
You say it's going to be a war. You've talked to me off camera about Prince Nassim Hamid and Kevin Kelly giving us that thriller all those years ago. Do you believe that it's going to be some sort of an electric fight at night on Saturday?
I do. I can see us both maybe in the canvas. It's going to be similar to that. You know, you're going to be on the edge of your seat from round one. You know, because he's not going to take a backward step, I'm not. And all I can say, it's going to be a thriller.
And you're the underdog in this fight, but normally when you're the underdog, that brings the best out in you. Do you love the challenge? Do you love the hunger inside you to make this happen in front of your people on Saturday?
I love it. I was born for it. I'm excited, Adam. I just, you know, like people have not got me winning this fight, but that just gives me that extra energy. It makes me want to go out and prove them all wrong.
Why do you think that is?
Because this guy's a good guy, he's a talented guy, but he's never been tested, he's never been in with someone who's so determined like me, who's big, who's strong, who's got all this energy, who's meant for this game, who's meant to be a winner. He's not being in with someone with that mindset, and that's what I'm coming to bring Saturday.
A lot of people concerned about the weight coming down from middleweight to make 10-7. You look fantastic in there, and I mean, let's have.
Ready, look, you can cheese, yeah, you can grate cheese with this. You can grate cheese. Don't worry, I got that. But like I said, I put myself.
Great cheese and chocolate brownies.
Yeah.
What more can you want?
Hello, what more could you want? So like I said, all the hard work's done. The talking's come to a stop. We'll let some fireworks fly now.
How much does it mean to you to have this sort of support? We saw you laying the flowers for the families, the victims of what happened, the terrible scenes in Manchester this week. Obviously a somber mood on that front. You're a dad too. And the love of these people coming together, is that going to give you more strength on Saturday?
You know, it's terrible what's happened. You know, it's terrible. It's only down the road, Manchester, for us. You know, when you've got kids straight away, you know, and Dave's always going to these concerts. It's like, you know, it could either have been you and your family. It's, you know, so it's horrible to see, to see and hear. But you know, we've got to pick it up, and I've still got a job to do Saturday night, so I've got to concentrate on my job.
That's it. It's business on Saturday night. What will you be thinking when you walk out in front of 27,000 at Bramall Lane? It was done back in 1984 with Harold Bomber Graham, I think, in front of about 3,000. They took the ring down from Winkerback, Brendan Mortgage's house, you know, all of that. This is your stage, your platform. Eddie's delivered for you. What happens?
I've arrived. You know, I've arrived. I'll be thinking, you know, I've arrived. It's a packed out, you know, crowd. You know, my uncle Johnny said that I'd, you know, defend my world title here, so it's it's a dream come true. It's going to be it's going to be so perfect for me that night, you know, to walk out and just hear everyone. The electricity is going to be phenomenal.
Is there any way Errol Spence Jr. can beat you?
There's no way he can beat me. I'm a man possessed, and I've got a serious job to do.
This will be your night and your statement.
This is my night to shine.
Cal, we wish you well. See you at the press conference, at the weigh-in and all that. Thank you very much, Cal. What a fight. What a night. Dave, Eddie, final thoughts just ahead of what really is possibly the matchup of the year. We all talk about AJ Klitschko, Hey Belly, there's many others that we've had, but this as a pure fight, I mean, we can't wait.
No, it's fantastic. It's a fantastic matchup. I think what you've got two kids at their peak, you know, at their peak, both talented fighters, so evenly matched, going at it. And you know what? This is what Kell's always spoke about, beating Americans in massive mega fights against guys that people think he's going to lose against. He loves that sort of stuff, and he's buzzing, you can see it. I'm so happy to see how happy he is a couple of days before a fight. Yeah, when is he like this a couple of days before a fight? These are good signs.
We've seen your reaction with Darren Barker, obviously, in America with Carl Froch when he beat Lucian Boudet, obviously with Kell when he beat Sean Porter. That was a long, long way from home. Anthony Joshua recently at Wembley. Where will this be for you, Eddie, if Kell can pull it off against the man that everybody in America says is the next great thing?
It'll be special, and been through a lot with Kell Brook. You know, I've sat in that kitchen around his old man's house probably 24 times, asking him, when will you take this seriously? You know, that was over the years, and in the last 12 or 18 months, probably since, you know, that attack in Tenerife, his life's changed. You know, he nearly lost his life that night, and I think that, you know, ironically gave him the kick up the backside that he needed, and he's become extremely focused. He's always been that good that he needed a fight like Gennady Golovkin to get him the position of a box office fighter, to allow him to generate the money for people to come over and fight him. Because in the past, before Golovkin, we couldn't get welterweights to come unless they wanted a king's ransom. So here you have a fight between two guys that deserve a lot of respect. Errol Spence, who is travelling to the UK to become a champion, and Kell Brook, who has decided not to swerve his mandatory, that most people would have advised he swerved. And when you get a fight where the TV execs, the major media are all flying to, you know it's a special fight. And when you get a fight where off camera, Dave Coldwell and Tony Bellew are arguing about and talking about the tactics, and the look in their eyes is like a boxing fan, you know you've got a very special fight. No one has any clue how this fight will go. And what you're getting is two of the very best welterweights in the world, in my opinion, two of the best welterweights in the world, in their prime, in a fight, outdoors, at Bramall Lane, in front of 27,000 predominantly Yorkshiremen, in just a night that I think we'll remember for a long, long time.
Salesman, isn't he?
It's not bad, is it? It's not bad.
But I mean it, you know, like, we've been waiting for this moment. You know, you have to remember with Kell Brook, he won a final eliminator 3 times against Devon Alexander. That fight fell through. Twice was because of an injury to Kell, and once, I can say it now, I don't mind, was because he wasn't focused enough in the camp. He wasn't disciplined enough. The other time, Devon Alexander popped his bicep, Lee Purdy went in. I thought we'd lost Kell from that. His head went, he walked away from the sport. He came back, he got the shot against Sean Porter. He went over there. He still doesn't get the credit he deserves for that victory over in California that night. Came back, 2 weeks later, went out, got attacked with a machete, nearly lost his leg and his life. The doctor told me in the hospital that day after he will never fight again. He could never train in the same intensity that he needs to be a fighter. He came back, he worked so hard, you know, standard defences against Jojo Dan, Frankie Gavin, Bizier, but always wanted the big fights. You know, jumped in against Gennady Golovkin, a huge risk, but at the same time knew that his belt would be preserved. But he would not give this belt up to fight, to move from Errol Spence. I said, move to 154. He said, I'm not vacating. He has to come and rip it off me if he wants to become world champion, just like I did off Sean Porter. And when we made this fight, I was concerned and I felt like it was the wrong move. Now, I believe this might be a genius move. And if he pulls it off on Saturday night, and I believe he will, I'm going to take all the credit.
No, I'm joking.
Eddie Hearn, thank you very much. Dave Carwell, everybody we've heard from Saturday night, Sky Sports box office from 6 o'clock. Sean Porter will be at ringside. We're hoping Prince Nassim Hamed will be there too. We hope you're there, but plenty more ahead. SkySports.com, Sky Sports News. We've got the press conference, we've got the weigh-in, and then Saturday night, the big one, the biggest boxing extravaganza in Sheffield's history. Goodbye from us all.